Hi there, welcome back to the dojo. I'm Russ Leach, I'm the comic book black belt, and this is, I suppose, the second because I set up an initial video for this to get me going, but it's the first, I suppose, in the series of the video logs that I'm producing on the production of my book Only Death Can Save Us. With the last video, I suppose it's episode 0, I kicked it off by saying, right, okay, I've pulled the trigger, I've told everybody what I'm doing. I've got myself into a situation where I've got a concept and I've written the script and I'm off drawing. So this video is being produced middle of January, and there's already a teaser trailer and a teaser site as part of my PR and marketing on it. And the site will start growing slowly over the next few months as I add bits and pieces in. The most important piece will be the 9-page preview, which will be up for everybody to see, and this would be a preview that I put up either for a potential publisher or as part of a crowdfunding campaign, so that people could read, to get a little essence of a little idea about what the story is kind of about without giving too much away, but also the art and the production that goes into it, so that people can see, the product that it's going to grow into, or that they're prepared to purchase and see the rest of. So the teaser trailer is good because obviously it spreads awareness. But the teaser site, it's so that people can associate themselves with the story and the characters and start to get to know them, and little bits and pieces about the world that I've created before they actually get into the book. There's no requirement. You don't have to do that to enjoy the book. That's not the way I've written it, but just to entice people in and sort of create a bit of a buzz about what I'm doing. So it's all helpful with the marketing and the PR, and I'm quite competent at producing the odd website, so I thought it was a really good idea. So the first thing that will happen will be or the main thing, by the end of January, there will be a teaser up, a PDF for people to download. I'll also send that out via my first email out on the email subscription list. But also I'll start putting up things like character profiles, and the character profile will have a short piece of information and a piece of art, and eventually I'll build those character profiles out into having external links and extra pieces of art. So the next episode, or the next video log that I'll be doing, will actually be getting involved in character creation, the art behind it, and the process that I'm putting into it. This video is mainly about the writing of the script. So it'll, as a log for the production, this is the first port of call, the script itself, how I came up with the ideas, and how I went about creating my script. Now, just because I'm doing it doesn't make it right. It's right for me, and of course the proof is in the pudding, as it were. So it really depends if it sells or not, or more importantly, if people are taken by the story, if they're excited by the story, if it's piquing their interest, and then they actually read the story and they enjoy it, then obviously I'm successful. It's not all about the money. It's about making a book that sells really well, and it's not about critical acclaim either, but it is about pleasing an audience. You want to get your story out to people. You want to touch people with your story, and for them to appreciate what you're doing. That's the whole point of a storyteller's job, really. So for the first part, that's at the sort of underpinning of what I went through. I went out and, because I'm not a writer as such, I'm an artist. I am a storyteller, and obviously I have lots of ideas that go around my head while I'm telling a sequential story. But up until this moment, I've done pages for other people, or I've been involved in books that other people have written, and I just thought it was time that I got out there. I mean, they say that everyone has at least one novel in them, and I think I've got a story that I'd really like to put out as a comic book story. And as anyone who's used to watching me on this channel, used to watching my videos, you'll know that I love the Bronze Age. Marvel, DC are the Bronze Age, and the excitement and charm and just the fun that was in those stories. Yeah, they had political moments and they had moments of pathos, and you want those things in there, but the driving aspect of them is they were action, they were adventure, and they were fun to read, even if they weren't all about fun in the story per se. So that's the backdrop for me writing these stories. My love of comics, my love of Bronze Age comics specifically, and obviously some of that is nostalgia because of those are the comics I grew up with. But these are all, I feel, valid reasons to write the way that I write, to want to create the stories that I want to create. Now, I went off and did some investigation into how other people write things, and there were lots of good sources out there. One particular great source is Fway Storm's YouTube channel. He really knows what he's talking about, and some more well-known people like Neil Gaiman and Chuck Dixon that provide advice in different places. I go read up on these people, but lots of writers out there. I went and reread a load of Jim Starlin's work because I got a whole bunch of stuff up on there, and some old Stan Lee books, and just I got out there and sort of reread stuff and went to look specifically for advice. I even went to, there's a couple of quite good channels. Professor Geek, he's I think he's got some kind of degree or whatever in English and lit and what have you. But there are a few of his videos that talk about the hero's journey. And also what Doug TenNapel was doing with his little stickies and everything. All I wanted to do was just take in how some other people approached their writing, how they wrote, the stories that they created, and how they came to it. I don't class myself in any of those with any of those people at all. But what I did do was try and find out how other people did things. What I do know is that you've just got to do it. It's just like books or getting your books out there or getting your stories out there or drawing or whatever it is. You have to pull the trigger, like I said in episode 0 of my videos. You have to pull the trigger and you have to go out there and do it. So I just wrote. The one thing I think you do need, though, is an editor. And I mentioned this in the previous vlog. And I have the good fortune to know several editors and have one on this book. So I've already passed my script through and got a good response from that. Taking that into account, having the editor on board, all the research I've done into other writers and looking around, and obviously reading lots and lots of comic books myself, and taking into my story elements of like making sure you've got basic elements like a start, a middle, and a finish. You have that crescendo at the end. How you punctuate your story with action elements, not putting too much in the way of exposition in, so you keep the action going, because I'm very much on the action side of the fence. Bronze Age comics, lots of fun, lots of action, that kind of stuff. I don't want to slow it down too much. A hero's journey, making sure that hero isn't overpowered, that there are some ways in which that hero, even though they appear to be, in cases like superheroes, superpowered, they still have their weaknesses. There's still something that can be exploited about them, and even in some ways their emotional and mental journey, where in some way they feel they're bereft of something that they need within themselves to finish their story, or at least to push their story forward. The story doesn't have to be within that one book, within that one graphic novel. It can be an arc over many books, and I'm hoping that's what I'm going to get with Dee and Chrissy in this book. Dee is Chrissy's nickname for Death, and Chrissy's just Chrissy. I can't tell you too much about Chrissy because she's part of the first story. It's not just their meeting and getting together. She's integral to the way that the story develops and how it can move further on into future books. So getting that basis down for how I want to write, the inspirations that I can get from other people, for the very structure of storytelling, and how you portray your characters. I suppose because I'm not a writer, I'm coming at it almost bluntly. I'm pretty much a blunt tool. I'm coming at it from a perspective, I'm just going to get it down. I'm just going to get that writing down. I'm going to get that story out and see what I can do with it. So I had the initial idea of what I wanted to do. I wanted to get a character that was recognisable, maybe in some kind of mythological way, but also there was a dichotomy about them. And Death seemed to be the perfect way to do it. Lots of people have used Death. I don't think they've used him in quite this way. And so I'll talk more about their characters in the next vlogs when I start showing the artwork, as far as how I develop the characters' look and feel. And I'll talk more about the specific characters then. And also you'll be able to pick some more bits and pieces up from the teaser site as well. OnlyDeathCanSaveUs.com. You can go find that anytime. That's up and live. So to get on, which is what this episode is about, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flick through the processes that I had, the stages of writing this story. So I've come up with an initial concept and idea, and the character development. So some people talk about, some writers talk about character being the motivation, the characters in the book, and others talk about the story, the events that those characters are in. And I really feel that what I'm trying to do here is the two together. The environment is dependent upon the characters and vice versa, and the story is driven along because there's a need for the characters to move forward. They have to move forward. They cannot move backwards. After their initial meeting, they're driven to do the right thing, and by being driven to do that thing, by being driven to see the story through to its end, you learn of their characters, and their characters develop over that time. Part of that initial concept I had was that Death was in some way, or D, I'll call him from now on, D was in some way removed from emotion, removed from what really drives the universe, which is love, I suppose. And this story is an arc for him to be more human, maybe, but certainly more in touch with what's important. He's kind of forgotten it over the eons of time. And from the other perspective, Chrissy comes to a point where she would never believe she would have ended up, and with an understanding of reality and existence she would never have believed she could have gotten, and it creates this interaction between the two where the two learn from each other, and in very subtle ways. It's not a direct lesson process, teacher student. It's not like that. So my first concept, actually, what I'll do is I'll show you the scan of this. There's some notes. So I've got, this is the first thing I did. I sat down and I wrote some notes about how I'd want a story to craft. Once I'd gotten those notes, I added that the notes on the left here are actually additional notes to the original notes, where I'm just adding bits and pieces in. And I thought about the story. It didn't just turn up one day. I wrote the story down roughly, and this was more an emote, sort of how I wanted the characters to involve themselves. And then after that, I moved on to actually tapping out in long form the basic premise of the story. So I'd got my notes down about the core of it, about the core of the characters and what their motivations were, and then I had to pad that out with the ideas about the world. I built the world around them, although part of my concept already had its feet firmly in pseudoscience and quantum physics and esoteric learnings and all those kind of things. So that's where I went next. And as you can see, I wrote some extensive notes about how it would work out, and right the way down to sort of working out the timeline of where the story went and how it worked. And from that timeline, from that working out, and this went over a couple of weeks, or 2 to 3 weeks, where I would think about it in bed or whatever, and get up in the morning and then write an extra note in, so that I didn't have anything that was too restrictive, too structured or too solid. I had that idea and then went back and popped these other ideas as they came along and kind of mixed and matched. And then from there, I went to an outline where I thought about how the actual story would define itself. So actually going to like 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, so working it out and giving a structure to how the story beats worked, and where it would finish up as well, how I would finish it and how I would make that story work for myself. And then finally, from that outline, I crafted the final script, and that script also included things like the pitch. The pitch is important because it kind of, it's that it gives you that idea about roughly what the book is about. Hopefully pins some excitement to it. But also added into that some world building, so that and anybody seeing this script could see that what wasn't padded out in the first episode, which this is, would be something that could be called on in multiple books. So I could create an arc of books. That's about it, really. That's how I wrote my script. I'm like I say, it's difficult for me to get across in technical terms how that works, because I'm not a writer, and I've not been taught to write in that way properly, as it were. But this came from the heart, and it also came from the experience of reading comics that I truly loved. But also a healthy dose of self-criticism, and also the support of a good editor, which is really important. So you're not just showing it to your mum and your mum going, yeah, that's a great story. You're actually passing it past someone who knows what they're talking about and can say, well, maybe you've not picked that out right, or this isn't coming across well. It's not just about whether you've structured it correctly. It's about the essence of the story as well. So the advice, just as in my last video, would be get yourself an editor if you're going to produce a book. Make sure you craft your idea before you go to that final script. This would just be my opinion. Obviously, I'm not telling anybody how to do something. Everyone's got their own journey, and of course, I've gone and found out how other people do it and gone off and done it my own way anyway. I'm just telling you what worked for me and what might work for you. But certainly, I would say nobody wants to just go straight down and start writing out the script and that's it. It's dead and done. It seemed to take so many layers for me to get to this point where I had a properly thought out script with a structure that went from start, middle, end, that had the character arcs within it, that still had room for more character and world development in a second and third book, and that was at the same time an attractive story and fun and dynamic, so that it kept the action going. And hopefully you'll see this in the final product. But as I was writing the book, I also had those Bronze Age comics in my head, and I wanted to create a look and a feel as well as the story itself. So my story is not just written around the story as per se, it's written around the visual perception of that story, how I would visualize that story. So it has a slightly different edge to it, hopefully. So once I got past this part of it, then I started drawing, basically. So even though I'm the artist, I made a point of writing a fairly structured script. You can see there, goes from page 1, page 2, page 3, and within all of them I've got panels. Obviously, as the artist and the writer, I can change things about if I need to, so I can add a panel, remove a panel, but in most cases, certainly the first 9 pages, I've been able to stick to what I've written and how I perceived it in the first place. It's something else you'll see. I've got the pitch, I've got a background premise, the look and feel, but also I've put in here as my final draft character elements, and research notes as well, where the essence of this came from. So I went out and did some research on the Four Horsemen, on background from Mesopotamian mythology, all kinds of places that I went looking for this stuff. And a lot of this is because I'd listened to so much wacky stuff on YouTube, to be honest, which is a great place. It's such a fertile environment for you to go and find ideas. There are some crazies on YouTube, and it really is worthwhile going and looking out some of that pseudoscience stuff, because it's wonderful, really fertile stuff. And so I went and did that, not huge research, deep research, but I went up and looked names and different characters from the mythology, and where they were and how that worked. Mainly Mesopotamian and Sumerian, because it's so ancient. It's our oldest civilizations. So that's where I went to look at it. The idea being is that they'd somehow been passed down through the eons incorrectly, some of the names and details of the characters that were involved in Dee's world or in Dee's environment prior to this universe, basically. But that's all wrapped up in the story, and that's for anybody out there who does buy the book, who does read the book. It's out there for them to find. So I suppose that's it, really. I mean, that's the whole point of this is for me to log down and allow other people to see and to understand, hopefully, the way that I've put a story together. What I will do is, once the book is out, I will put the scripts out for anybody to see, and I'm always open to criticism. If somebody would say to me, well, that worked in the book in the end, or it didn't work, or whatever, but your script is missing something here or there, always open to that, and I think that's a good thing. But certainly I'll be allowing people to download the script and use it if they think it's of any use to them in the future. I think that's about it, really. So that's my log of how I came to the idea, how I put the idea together, how I went through many stages of notes and pulling an idea together. It slowly became more and more concrete and focused as the notes moved into a focused story. And I suppose the thing that you have to ask yourself, which is the same thing I asked myself, is what kind of story do you want to produce? And at the end of the day, when it's visualized, when it becomes a comic book, what kind of feel do you want for that book? And if you're a writer and not an artist, it's important to find the right artist for your book. Now, I obviously feel I've found the right artist because it's me. And I've written my book in such a way that it works around me as an artist and the kind of story and the kind of look and book that I want to create. So that's it, I think, for this video. I'll be coming back again with another video log on Only Death Can Save Us, and we'll be starting to get into the nitty gritty next time of actual character creation and colours and all that kind of stuff. I'll be doing some brush coloured stuff, and also some turnarounds, so that you can see the characters. And the first character I will be coming back with will be D himself. That will be my first character to show. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching and listening to my rants. Do remember to go over, if you can, and sign up for the email subscription list. That really makes a difference, knowing that I've got people that I can get information out to about the coming book, but also about the channel. I won't be filling your inbox up with rubbish. You can go to any of my websites for that, russleach.com, onlydeathcansavus.com, obviously, or comicbookblackbelt.com, and there'll be links there. Also, if you could like and subscribe, liking the video would be a really good thing. Subscribing to the channel is a real boost to me, because again, it's about an audience, it's about connecting with people, getting out there, creating stories, but also having interaction, having people come back and say, oh, I like what you did there, or I didn't like what you did there. And about my other artwork as well. There's loads of other videos on the channel about all kinds of different things, comic book related, obviously, and no drama. Okay, I will do reviews of all kinds of books, comicsgate and not comicsgate, that I like. Most of the time it's because I'm really shallow and I really love artwork, and I tend to read the stories later on, but that's just the way I roll. I don't care where it comes from, as long as I like the art, and if the art grabs me, then I will read it. And invariably, if it's great art, it usually comes as a package with a great writer as well. That's a generalization, I know, but that's the way it seems to work for me. So thanks very much if you've liked the video. Also, if you are a subscriber, once again, and I say this in every video I do, thank you so much. Very humbled that people do subscribe to my channel, that they do, you know, like the videos, and leaving a comment, and is even more important, because that's interaction, which is what it's all about. So that's it for this video log. Like I say, I'll be back again with a second one with character designs, and we'll move on from there. Thanks again for watching and being with me in the dojo today, and I'll be back with another video again real soon. Bye bye. Thanks for watching Comic Book Black Belt. If you've enjoyed the content from this video, please like, share or subscribe, and come over and follow me on Twitter. It's been great having you in the dojo. See you again soon.